Hey there, beautiful souls. Welcome to InnerViews, the podcast where we dive deep into the realms of therapy, healing, and intentional living. I'm your guide on this adventure, Ivory. Are you ready to embark on a transformative journey with me? Whether you're navigating the complexities of trauma, embracing intentional parenting, or seeking self-help strategies, this podcast is your sanctuary. InnerViews is not just a podcast, it's a community. A safe space where stories unfold and healing takes center stage. Your story matters. And here, courageous storytelling is the heartbeat of our existence. We'll be exploring powerful themes like healing, navigating the intricacies of foster care, the strength found in survival, the beauty of reclamation, and the pure bliss of joy. So if you're ready to join hands with a community that understands, subscribe now. Let's walk this path together because the journey toward understanding and well-being starts right here, right now. Welcome to InnerViews, where every step is a celebration of your resilience and a testament to the incredible strength within you. Let's make this journey unforgettable. Good morning, good afternoon, and good evening. Thank you so much for tuning into another episode of InnerViews. Welcome. I am super excited for today's guest because, drum roll, I just bought my first house. Yay!
That's good. That's
It was
great.
so long ago. Like, honestly, it was the end of February because it was the last day of Black History Month. I remember that. And I feel something to that. But I didn't move in until May, I believe. So there was a bit of a lag in between that. But today I'm joined by my dream team that made it possible, my realtor, Joy Hill, and my loan officer, David McGowan. But before we dive into the real tea of rates, credit scores, crazy inspection timelines, Joy and David, can you please introduce yourselves to our audience and tell us what you do and how you help people through the home buying process?
Ladies first.
Well, thank you, David. My name is Joy Hill, and I have been in real estate for over 20 years. And I have a team of agents that work beside me. I don't say under me, beside me, because we are a team of agents. We take our job very seriously of making sure that our buyers understand the process from start to finish. And we work hand in hand with our loan officers so that it becomes a smooth transaction, we should say as well. So, yeah.
Thank you, Joy. And then David, can you tell us a little bit about who you are and what you do in the home buying process?
Gotcha. So my name is David McGowan. I'm a community mortgage banker and I work with S&T Bank, and my job is I'm going to say pre-qualify borrowers and homeowners for loans and loan programs and products throughout the home buying process, and then also within a refinance process. Part of most people, when they hear a loan officer, they're thinking like, hey, this is the guy that's going to tell me how much I can purchase for a home. But I try to do a little bit more than that. In the home buying process, the first thing that we're going to do is we're going to talk about your credit, your income, your assets. We're not just going to run your credit. We're not just going to say like, hey, you can't buy a house or you can buy a house. It's a little bit more detailed than that. We're going to talk about your income. We're going to talk about how much you can afford versus how much you really want to pay per month. We're going to talk about how much money is in your account and how much you have saved versus how much money you actually want to spend. We're going to talk about your whole portfolio package and what are the guidelines and then what is actually feasible for you as a person. Then we're going to do some fun stuff. After you get pre-qualified, we're going to talk to the real estate agent. A lot of times, what I do with my borrowers is sometimes they go out with a real estate agent once you're pre-qualified and they say like, okay, I'm pre-qualified for $200,000. And then you go out and you look for 10 houses, and all $200,000 houses are not built the same. So we're going to go over what the taxes are. We're going to talk about what area you want to live in and what grant programs apply to that area. There's so much in the package that I can't necessarily explain everything that I do. But to sum it up, I help borrowers get pre-qualified for mortgage loans, grant programs, and I help the listing agent or buyer's agent with getting the borrower to the finish line.
Adding on to that with David, I forgot to mention that my license is held with Keller Williams, but my team is the Hill Real Estate Group. I'm sorry, I forgot to add that. David is exactly right, because the moment that David gives me a pre-approval, David and I will have a conversation about the pre-approval. Do they need seller assist? He will let me know that. And prior to writing an offer, we always talk to David first before even writing that offer, so that we know that the terms that are in that contract are complete. But prior to that, what we also do is we meet with our clients and we do what we call a buyer's consultation. And we make sure that what the needs of that buyer are. So if you're looking for a 3-bedroom, there's no need for me to show you a 2-bedroom. You tell me that you don't want to spend more than $1,300, and then we get to a house that's like $1,400. I'm gonna ask you sure you want to spend this? Let's contact the lender. Let's see what that payment looks like. So we make sure that we go over the process, which your inspections look like, what to expect in your inspections, making sure that you understand your timelines, making sure you understand your contract. It's a whole team that is behind the buyer. Even David still has to contact his underwriting department to make sure that things are, the information that you all send to him is accurate or, verified. And that's the one thing that is nerve-wracking too. Not too many lenders, David does that up front for us. There are a lot of lenders that we get to almost to the finish line and they, hey, this person's not pre-approved, doesn't qualify. So, well, what the heck? What happened? We didn't get their W-2s or we didn't get their tax returns. David would not give me a pre-approval without that. So it's as a real estate agent, it's our job to make sure that we partner with mortgage lenders that are going to do their due diligence and not half-step just to write a pre-approval. So.
Yeah. One time, Joy almost cussed me out about that. Actually, she was like, "What do you mean?" I was like, the worst thing you could do is give Miss Joy a pre-qualification. She's out there driving around. She went and seen 30 houses. She done spent 30 houses, no telling where they're at, because Pittsburgh's small. But since Pittsburgh is so small, like, all right, if we know the areas in which people can purchase homes in a decent budget, and in Pittsburgh, it's kind of weird. It's scattered all throughout the city. You can go West Side Crafton, you can go to Penn Hills. If you really want to explore your options, you can go to Homewood. If you want to live on the north side, you can go out Brighton. You can go to Avalon if you want. The thing is, it's just like, she could be driving miles and miles and miles. And that's 2 tanks of gas. I don't know what Miss Joy drives, but 2 tanks of gas for me is like $160.
I'm saying, yeah.
So she's doing all of that upfront work. So we just have to make sure we're right. And I don't know if I'm doing this too early, but Ivory, I don't know how comfortable you are talking about your process, but like, how much do you remember from that? If I could ask that.
Oh, that's why we're here. I was going to tell the audience, y'all were all up in my business. I remember y'all was in my bank accounts. Y'all were in my credit score, and all of these things. I knew they were going to happen, but it was a really extensive process. And I think it was one of the people who's on your team, David. She's like, "Oh, you're really organized. You have this stuff readily available." And I'm like, "Yeah, I had to be."
I think you're talking about Liz.
Yeah, Liz was like, "Oh my gosh, you got it back so fast." I mean, because I had to provide bank statements. I had to provide information about all of my school loans. I went to 2 schools so far. Well, technically 3 schools after graduating high school. She needed all that information. She needed bank statements from the last 2 years. I worked 2 full-time jobs. So getting all that stuff together was a lot. I'm an independent contractor. Getting that stuff together was a lot. I think at the time I had just gotten my foster baby, Jaden. And so like I needed stuff around that. Like there was just there's so much information, and it could have felt invasive. It didn't, because I understand why y'all needed it. You needed to know my whole profile, and not only what I have going on, but like the projections of what I will have going on. And then alongside that, I didn't want to have a really high payment because I still have other payments that I have to make on like student debt and all kinds of other things. But I remember the excitement of like going to visit houses. I'm trying to remember the first house Joy took me to. I don't know if I remember the first house that you took me to, but I know that we had looked at several locations and just getting an idea of like what would work well. And I don't even remember how many bedrooms I told you. The house that I'm in now has 3 bedrooms, so it's more than enough. I would love for one of them to become my closet, so I got to kick these cousins out one day.
Yeah.
I have 3 bedrooms. I have an attic. I have a basement. I have a porch and a backyard. And so it's really nice. And a garage too. So there's, additional space. And it's a good first home. I think this home actually, Joy, I think I sent it to you because I was like looking at places, and I ended up in Wilkinsburg, which is, I don't know if it's would y'all call it a historically Black neighborhood? I know that it's primarily Black now, but like, what was
I
it?
think it's expanding. I don't think it's. I think there's certain parts of it now that are becoming high end. That what do they call that? Regentified. I guess there's a lot of places in Wilkinsburg now that are being remodeled and things like that. So
Yeah. And I chose it for a few reasons. One, because something about it just felt right. Two, it was in foreclosure. So the bank had, redone everything. And Joy, like, let me know that was a really beautiful thing. It has a new roof. It has new windows. It had new HVAC. It had new electrical, just kind of all the expensive things that you would typically have to invest in your own home. And I don't know, I really wanted to be like around Black and brown people this time.
that was your main focus when you and I were going through houses. That's what you had told me.
Yes.
You did tell
Yeah.
me that, and I mean, we looked at some doozies too. Don't get into this.
We did. We did. And honestly, I'm just gonna be frank for my audience. Look, I do not have time to live around racist white people. Like, I just don't have the energy for it. And I already know what Pittsburgh is all about. And typically in some of the areas where we looked that were primarily white, I knew that I would have to, there were Trump signs in the yard. And I was like, I just not for my home. Not for my home. I can't do it this time around. And so that's how I ended up in my little house. I haven't given it a name yet. I guess people name their houses or whatever. But I'm really happy. Every night I lay down and I'm just like grateful, and I give thanks for this home and for this being my first time homeowners experience as well. It's been a positive thing. And I'll tell y'all, I haven't been able to update you, but every time we get home from like an event when Jaden has been screaming and he's ready to go home, he yells, "Yay!" when I'm parking the car at the house. And so he loves his home too. And so it's a really, really good experience for both of us. But we did get a little bit ahead. And before we get any further, this entire experience started because of a fellow lived expert, Donnie Black. She hosted a free first-time home ownership seminar sometime in like 2024. I cannot remember, but I remember that's when I first met the two of you all. And it was in like East Liberty Library or something like that.
Yeah.
So can you share why it's important for professionals like yourselves to make this kind of information accessible, especially to people like me who have lived child welfare experience?
For me, the foster experience you spoke of, just to give you a little bit of background. So when I believe I was 17, my mom and my uncle both, and I tell the story all the time, they lost our like childhood homes. My grandmother's house over on the south side and my grandfather's house in where I live at now in Penn Hills. We lost both of them by the time that we were 17. Both of them were knocked down. Neither one of them are there anymore. 162 East Flemington, 2913 Devlin Street, both gone. And when I was younger, I used to tell my mom, I remember this, I didn't know what I was talking about. Just to let everybody know I wasn't like smart when back then. I was just talking. But I knew that my mom at the time, who was mother of 5 kids, could not sustain where we were living at because there were just too many things going wrong. The roof was leaking. We had rats, like honest to God, like our heat was off because our furnace broke, and it was February. So me and my brother legitimately curled up on the couch and was like under blankets and stuff like that with like space heaters. Space heater blew like we did not live in like anywhere near close to like good living conditions. There was actually, so I was way more athletic than what you guys see this girlish figure today. No lie, there was a hole in my roof in our living room ceiling where I was like, forget it. I can jump up and hold on to the beams in the living room. I used to do pull-ups in my living room on the beam, and I will also try to test my vertical to see how high I can get in my living room. No lie. So with that being said, the reason why it's so important is I'm gonna say one thing, I'm gonna segue into another. One, we need more Black professionals. We need more Black people who are knowledgeable about their financial situations, their financial health and wellness. We need more people striving to be the one. Like I'm not my position. I don't see myself as like, I'm not a big person, but everyone else around me looks at me and says, "Oh, you're that guy." Like I hear it all the time, but I'm really not. This is a regular day job. Like honestly, but is providing information to low to moderate income people that people are basically like starved of, and they see it as such a great thing because we have not had it in our community as much, or there's not that many people in our community who know someone who works at the bank, and that's what I want to be. I just want to be the person that everybody knows they can come to the bank or at least ask me a question. They don't have to go with me or anything like that. They're like just to have that comfort of understanding your situation. As I've worked with mortgage loans and I've worked at this bank and that bank, I understand things to a certain degree. And there are a lot of things that I don't understand. And I actually feel like I'm behind the eight ball as well. But if I feel like I'm behind the eight ball on certain things, and there are people who are coming to me for advice about financial situations and things like that, we have to have a better understanding. And the reason why this is so important to answer your question is because we need more financial knowledge, not even just it's tax knowledge, loan knowledge. Because when you don't know something, you get anxiety and then you just ignore it and then forget about it, and then you've lost your property. I actually have a young lady. I spoke with a real estate agent last week on, I believe it was Thursday or Friday. Her grandmother does not want to sell their home. She said, when I die, just rent it out. She put that in her will. That is not okay. We have to have better knowledge and information so we can better serve ourselves and our children in the future.
Thank you for sharing. Really quickly, I've heard too that shouldn't we put properties into trust rather than like just leaving directions like that in wills? Or I don't know if either one of y'all, if that's like your area of expertise.
It depends on your situation. It all depends on your situation. I'm not gonna pretend to be an expert in that. I will always say it all depends on what your specific situation is. If you have multiple children and they're gonna fight over the property, I would say, in my opinion, I would put that in a trust.
Mhm.
Me personally, I don't have to worry about that. I have four daughters, and they're all stretched out in age, and I just know I know where the product placement of my things are gonna go
Yeah.
based upon my children's age and things like that. And if I live to be whatever age, obviously it'll get split up amongst the four of them. But right now, I know where my stuff is going as of right now. But it all depends, and that answer might be different for Joy. But I know Joy has an eldest daughter who is pretty much solidified herself. So I'll let Joy answer that question how she would answer.
Couple of things. It's funny how you mentioned trust. We are actually in the process of doing our irrevocable trust right now. So we'll be ready in a couple of weeks. So we have taken those steps to do that. So our whole estate planning. So being a realtor, I see too much that goes on. I see people who say, oh, they just think that they could sell grandma's house. They can sign grandma's name on the deed. There's so many things that go on. So as a real estate agent, I did my due diligence, talked to my attorneys, and they're completing that as we speak a couple weeks before I go and sign for it. And yeah, we decided to do it that way. getting back to your question and why this is important, I can remember when my husband and I bought our first house. I was turned down. I grew up in Greenway. Me and my sisters, we always said we just a crew of kids from Greenway. And I wanted to rent this house up the street from us. And we were turned down. They ran our credit and they said no. So I was like, well, what the heck? I mean, I didn't even understand credit back then. This was, 40 years ago, obviously. So I said, okay. I went, and at the time, I didn't even know how to pull a credit report or anything. So my husband and I, we said, okay, let's just save some more money and then let's see if we can buy a house. So my husband came home. He showed us this booklet, showed me this booklet that had this house in it. And no, I showed him the booklet that had this house in it. And then he took me to the house that was in the booklet. And this is when you can go in Giant Eagle and get the booklets of the house. And so we called the agent up and said, hey, we would like to, buy this house. How do we do it? So long story short, when we first did the loan application, we were going through the process. This is no lie. The lady has said to me, she said, Joy, you all don't qualify because at the time I had medical bills and a defaulted student loan on my credit report. So she showed me, the loan officer at the time showed me how to go about cleaning up my credit. So then what was funny is I cleaned up everything, wrote letters. This is way back 40 years ago. And she said, Joy, I don't know how you got people to move. And she ran my credit, and maybe like 3 months later, we qualified. So down to the wire we were, going through the process. And she says, I think they're going to deny you. And you're not going to believe this. Because I paid off my student loan. I'll never forget. She said, you paid off your student loan. Wish I could pay off my new student loans, right? But I paid off my defaulted student loans to qualify for the loan. I said, I don't understand this. Like, yeah. So she said, Joy, don't worry about it. I'm going to go to bat for you. You guys make enough of money for the house, blase, blase. I said, well, this is what you told me to do. Like, I paid off all my bad debt. Like, I paid everything off, got all the medical bills off of my student loan. They were old. My daughter was like 10 at the time. So she came back and she says, I don't know what you did. She said, but they're going to go ahead and give you the loan. Well, ever since then, it was this thing in me that said, wow, I was first denied that house. Every time I drive by it, I tell my kids, we would have ended up living there if we would have. Wonder what life would have been like if we started out there. And we at that time, we just wanted to rent it. And so cleaned up my, report. Then I had a passion to clean up everybody else's report. Like, hey, if I did it, then I know there's people out there that need some help doing it. So once I got my real estate license, I would come across people. We only needed a 500 credit score. David, I don't know if you were in the business back then, but you only needed a 500 credit score. They would come into the office. They would have a piece of paper like this, and they would print off the credit report. And the piece of paper was color coordinated. So if you had a green, it was ready to go. If you had a yellow, we got some things that we need in order to get the pre-approval. If you got a red, it was a hard stop. It was just a colored piece of paper on top of your credit report. You only needed a 500 credit score. So I would help these people get their credit together so that they could buy a house. That's how it started. And from there, once I start doing it enough, I needed to be like, oh, wait a minute, I'm messing with people's credit. These are people's livelihoods that I'm telling them what I think is right. And that's how I opened up a credit consulting company called Roy Hens Credit Consultants. I don't do much, but for our clients, it's when people come to us, that's how we help them, get on track to buy a house. So I got certified, and I keep my certification up just like our real estate license. Every 2 years, we got to go back into training. But that's where the passion of helping somebody buy a house came, is we had help. and we had no idea how to start. And when people come to me and they need, oh, I think I have bad credit, or I don't know if I have credit, I'll ask them to pull their credit first so I can see it. I mean, obviously, you can get it free. And then I will, oh, I think this is good. Let's see, that type of thing. But that's where it starts, is the foundation. If you know that part of how to maintain your credit report, how to maintain your credit score, that's the foundation. Everything that you learn from there is just building. So if you do get into a little bit of a pickle, and I will share, I filed bankruptcy in, I think it was 2000, right? And what I've learned from that experience taught me to what I have now and how to maintain it. And I share those experiences with others because I too had bad credit at one time, twice. And I've learned how to maintain it, how to live below my means and all that good stuff. But I also know if I need 2 points, what do I need? If I need to increase my credit score. So it starts there. The knowledge starts at the foundation. And if you have a team of people around you that can teach you about the foundation on how to build your credit and how to obtain wealth from purchasing a home and all that good stuff, that's where what is in the heart here. And then from there, you're just building on and networking with the right individuals that have that same passion and drive that you do. And that's like, David ain't going to give you a pre-approval just because you want one. He's going to, again, ask the questions of, yeah, well, you can afford $2,000 a month, but you don't want to spend, just like you. You could have went up higher if you wanted to.
Yeah.
But David and I had conversations. Well, I know that you can go up higher, but this is where I need to keep you right here because this is where you desire to be. This is where you're comfortable of being. So you don't have that team that is pressuring you to buy more than what you choose to, right, not more than what you can afford, because you could afford to go way up more than what you did.
I did, yeah, but I didn't want to do that. And I think that most of the houses we saw were closer to my limit, if I'm remembering correctly. But this one just felt right. And I bought it in equity, right? Because I paid less for it than what it was worth. So in a lot of sense, it just made sense to pick this little home and everything. For our listeners who might feel like home buying is just inaccessible to them, come as you are. And if you have a great team like Joy and David, you'll be able to fix your credit and get it to where it needs to be so that you can be in a position to buy your first house. I will acknowledge I was really privileged because I took advantage of like every opportunity to learn about credit and finances when I was younger. Like I took all the classes that they were offering for independent learning. My foster mom, who was my aunt at the time, she was an accountant. So I would just always ask her questions about accounting and learned about that at a young age. And then at the time, since I'm so old now, when I first went to Pitt, they were offering like credit card signups. Like on the weekends, they would have like different credit cards outside the dorms and things. And so I signed up for my first credit card when I was like 18 years old, a freshman at Pitt. And I have had that line of credit ever since. That was my first major line of credit. And it was probably like $200 starting out. It's definitely way more than $200 at this point. But I started building my credit at that point. And I think a few years later, they kind of made it until you had to be 21 to start being able to get credit cards until, they weren't allowed to spend.
Really?
Yeah, they changed the law, if I'm not mistaken. Like, I think
I blew mine. Like, I'm not going to lie to you, straight up. I remember because I was going to school from my brother's house on the west side. I've lived in every part of Pittsburgh. I used to live in, what is that called? Elliott on the west side. And I remember when I blew my credit card because they gave me like $1,000 limit. $1,000? I was out here. I remember I bought these red Jordan Dunks. I bought these pants that had the little red pocket on the side. I just knew wherever I was going, it was going to be up. So the guy who's trying to help people is definitely, I've already made the mistakes. I've made the mistakes 10 times over. I've spent so much money, like haphazardly Like it's absolutely ridiculous. Like I've made so many bad decisions, but I also took time to fix those decisions early on. Like in a very, very short period of time, I made so many bad decisions. It was crazy.
That's okay. That's okay to make bad decisions. I feel like my biggest financial decisions that impacted the money that I did have available for housing was my credit, my student loans. And that's only because I didn't get to go to school for free. A lot of most foster kids can go to school for free now, depending on the schools that they choose. I didn't have that option. So I remember, David, talking to you, they had like my student loans on my credit report. Was it like 2 times or like 3 times?
Yeah, so I'm glad you mentioned that because I wasn't allowed to open up with that because that would be divulging information. But since you asked the question, that might have been the hardest part of your process. Like typically, but here's the thing, back to Joy's point, we knew that from the beginning. Like, so I used to actually work for the Department of Education, and that's why I know so much about student loans. And if student loans is your problem, I'm your person. Like there's so many different ways to like get around the problem, right? If you have defaulted student loans, so most people don't know, if you have defaulted student loans, you can kiss that FHA loan goodbye. Like you cannot get an FHA loan. If your student loans are defaulted, you can't get an FHA loan. But the workaround is, it's like, no, I'm not going to tell you, you got to come. It's like, no, I'm joking. If you have
people what they came for, David, please.
No, absolutely. You just need to refinance your student loans. Go to studentaid.gov and put a student loan. If you have more than one student loan, consolidate it. Consolidate it. It'll pay off all your old loans. It'll give your credit a little bit of a boost. It'll take 45 to 60 days. Now, I have not done any student loan things under the current administration, and I'm not speaking negatively about it. I have no positive or negative things to say about them. But what I can say is I have not done any student loan applications successfully under this current administration because I haven't had to recently. But typically when I need student loans fixed, we go to studentaid.gov, we do the consolidation application. I'll do that consolidation application with you if need be, or if it's a quick fix like what you had to go through and you really have to have an eye for it. You have to know why they do it and what they do. I think we spotted that really, really early. It's just that they had to give confirmation to us about your student loan. So just to give clarity on the situation, Ivory had a student loan that reported twice. So it was making on our side, even though we know that it's reported twice, they did not give us the verification. So we had to continuously, we had to go to like 3 different places. We had to go to the loan servicer. We had to go to studentaid.gov. I think you had to call somebody and they had to give us clarification on why they were reporting it twice. So if you have student loans, if you have multiple student loans on your credit report, if you have any student loan that has the same exact balance but shows a different date, they might be the same student loan.
Right.
But it'll say 0 payment and they won't hit you with any extra like negative dings for that. But for the life of me, I don't know why. I still don't know why it happens. I can just see when it happens. And typically it's when you start school, stop school, or you have more than like 6 subsidized and unsubsidized loans. And it just happens that way for some reason. And it happens with so many people. And for Ivory specifically, that one student loan was affecting our debt ratio. So it's like, yeah, get off of there. We need you to move out the way because I believe it was looking like you were making a full payment on that when you really weren't. It just didn't make any sense. But we knew that from the beginning. It just took us a little while to get the documentation for it. And I remember Joy calling me and it was like, oh, what's going on? And I was like, oh, we got this little student loan issue. We're still trying to get the documentation for it. And then me and Ivory, I think we spent like an hour on the phone trying to figure out like how we get past it. Like we had to log in. We logged in whatever student loan service you have. Then we went to studentaid.gov. We're doing the most just to try to get like one definitive document over to underwriting. And after that, everything was good. When I look at borrowers, I look at what is your weak point, whether it be and honest to goodness, it's gonna sound real bad, but like when when a customer is too good to be true,
Oh no.
just everything's in line. I'm like, what is going to happen? And as long as I know your weak point, I can, and I think I can fix that weak point. We just got to get over that hurdle. That's good. But I just had a customer. I actually had two good to be true customers come in. Everything, it was immaculate. It was perfect. And I'm just like, man, I love these guys. Nope. Sooner, and when it happens, it happens. That's all. And it's just like, so I would rather my hurdles be visible, so that way we know.
Fair. I was not a too good to be true customer.
No, you actually are, honestly. If I'm being real, your problem was minuscule compared to others.
Yeah.
Like, I'll give you a real scenario. When we go to get grant programs, some grant programs have a limit to how much money you can have. And you can tell anybody until you're blue in the face, hey, you're not allowed to have this much money in your account. And it's like, oh yeah, good. We're good. We're fine on that. And then boom, too much money in your account. Like, wait, didn't we go over this? And you can only say, I mean, as a loan officer, you can only say so much. I mean, you can only tell them the guidelines, and then after that, whatever. And then when you get to the part, and they're like, oh, well, why didn't you just tell me? And I'm actually going to say this because I know it's being recorded. Why didn't you just tell me what to do? If you go look up the definition of loan manufacturing, which is against the law, you were technically not allowed to tell people certain things. And a lot of people think like, oh, well, why didn't your loan officer just tell you this? Certain things fall under rules that will put me in jail for 10 years. And unless somebody's willing to take care of my kids, I'm not telling you a thing.
That is fair.
I cannot tell you to take money out of your account to make you qualify for something. I cannot tell you how to file your tax returns. You know what I mean? I can tell you hey, you need this you need this number to qualify. That's about it.
Right. So that's why people need to listen to podcasts like this and talk to people who have been through the homeowner status.
Yes.
It's not an easy process.
It's not. It's really involved. It takes a lot of time and a lot of energy. And yeah, I mean, I'm really grateful I had you all because you were really helpful. And I really felt that you cared and you were supportive of the process. But it is a lot. There are a lot of moving pieces. And I am someone who's more organized with my financial things. So I'm sure it was like I was able to get things probably a little bit faster and a little bit more organized than like the average.
Oh, yeah.
There's a lot of moving pieces, and there's a lot of things that you have to know about yourself that you can, like, if David's like, how many times did you go to school and where'd you go to school? I need to be able to, share that information and get that to him so he can understand it.
Another thing though, to give Joy, I mean, like, there are certain real estate agents. I'll actually just say a couple of names. There is Joy Hill, there is Tania Smith, there's Mary Hester, and I'll even say Monica Reynolds. Because I'll carry like 10 to 15 deals, right? 10 to 15 deals at any given time. And that's not including how many people you pre-qualify and cost sheets that you're writing. The one thing that you need real estate agents to keep you honest or keep you in check with like timelines. They're calling you and stuff like that. And not saying you should not have any accountability at all, because that is not what I'm saying. You should be 100% accountable for what you're doing. But at any given time, you need to be able to communicate with your partner. And the one thing you should look for is a partner that's going to hold you accountable, but then also hold yourself accountable to try to keep the process moving smoothly. Because I actually remember the day that you had said, hey, Dave, Joy called me. She was like, hey, Dave, what's going on with Ivory, blah, blah, blah. And then I was just like, oh, yeah, I do need to do that because she's probably having struggles with it. And then it prompted me to call you. Now, I can take 100% credit on calling you, staying on the phone with you for an hour. But the only reason why I called you is because Joy called me and reminded me. So I'm gonna throw that out there. So it's kudos to good partners and people who are going to keep you in line and say, hey, Dave, remember the closing date is this date, or mortgage contingency is this date. And some people will like crucify you for that. But
I have like, there's like a harem of ladies that like keep me in check. So I'm cool. I'm cool. I love the partnership. I do appreciate everything that they do for me because honestly, without your real estate partners as a real estate agent, people can talk about us online and all of that stuff, but we're only as good as the people that we can put you in contact with. And that's honestly the truth.
Yeah, you make a good point, David. I think that's one of the biggest motivating factors for me even buying a house. I kind of did it on a whim because I didn't want to live in Pittsburgh. It's not my favorite place to be. But I knew and I know that having real estate is a way for me to build financial stability that will give me the opportunity to leave and live elsewhere if I want to. And so I said, hey, especially after the seminar, I was like, let me just see what's out there. And my mortgage is cheaper than my rent was. And so it just makes so much more sense long term. And that accountability piece is also, I think, a factor. Like instead of me paying rent to someone that gets me nowhere, ultimately, let me pay a mortgage to myself. Let me develop a beginning of a real estate portfolio that can help me to get closer to my dreams one day. And so that accountability is, I think, a big piece for me. I'm going to get us back on track with our questions though, because
Got you. Go ahead.
a few more questions for the audience. And this one, particularly for Joy, but David, feel free to jump in if you want. So when I made the decision to buy my first home, I was also unexpectedly stepping into kinship care. I became a foster mom to a baby who was under 2 years old. And Joy, you shared with me that you've been a foster mom yourself. So what advice do you have for parents, especially single parents, single moms like me, who are trying to find housing stability while caring for little ones?
Oh, that's a tough one because it is so emotional. We've been through foster care. I just say patience. I mean, honestly, it's patience. And, I would text you first and say, hey, are you available to get on a call? Because I knew that one, you were working and, you had challenges with the baby, trying to figure that out of, the sleeping habits, right? And so when you know that, when you get to know your client and you know some of their habits, some of the things that are challenging for them, you try to make it as easy as possible. And you got to have patience as somebody who is looking for a new house and you're thinking, oh my gosh, this is the house that I could raise my family in. That's important. My first thing, I remember a house that we looked at. I don't know if you remember, and I said, this makes me nervous. Remember the high railings of that one house?
Yes, I do remember that. The attic.
And I said, you got a little one now. I'm not trying to tell you how to buy a house, but as a mom, all I seen was ER.
Yeah.
And I shared that with you. I said, this railing is too high. You gotta, these little boys, they don't care. They're going to climb on that. And next thing you know, they're going to fall. It just looked dangerous to me. Mm-hmm. So I just say patience. And that's really the only thing that I can say. I try to take my mom hat off. I try to take my personal opinions out of it. And I know a lot of people say, oh, I can see it on your face. But when I see something like that, people always say, oh, no, Joe, I see it on your face. And I'm like, you get to know your client. And I knew right away those couple of houses. I knew there was 2 houses that had those staircases where the railings weren't high enough. And that was all day long ER, too many visits.
Yeah. No, I appreciated the mom hat whenever it came out. I really did, because I've never been through this process before. And so I have aunts and uncles who've owned homes. So my mom and my grandmother, they never owned homes. And so like, I don't have someone to call to say, hey, like, what do I do for this? Or what do you think about that? So I really did appreciate that part of the process. Mm-hmm. And just that insight too. There's so many pieces to buying a house that like that insight was so helpful for me on both sides of it, from David's perspective and from your perspective. Just getting your insight on things was crucial, I think. And I think now that I've purchased my first home, I feel like I know so much more now. Like next time we do this, I'm going to be like, okay, y'all, this is what I need. I'm ready. Just give me a few years. And then we're going to be looking at property number. Well, we're already looking at another property. So, there's that. We're going to but, I feel more equipped and I'm super excited and I'm super grateful for whenever the mom hat comes out or I like the opinions. So keep them coming for me personally.
No, absolutely.
So moving on to our next question, I've been building my credit since I was about 18. I've been working 2 to 3 jobs most of my life. I remember, David, you asked me, you're like, are you going to keep working 2 jobs? And I looked at you like, yes, unfortunately, until I build my business. Yeah, probably. But David, what are some realistic steps that others can take today if they want to become homeowners, even if they don't have perfect credit or a traditional financial situation?
What are some steps? So basically, I mean, to know what steps you have to take, you have to know what it takes to purchase a home. So to purchase a home, you just have to have 2 years of job history. To purchase a home, it could differ from bank to bank. You have to have a certain amount of savings in your account. And this differs from bank to bank as well. You have to have a 620 credit score. So those are the main things that I care about. What is your job time? Okay. How much money do you have saved? What is your credit score? Does it fit? Does it check our boxes? So what I would say is take a look at what you have saved right now. If you want to purchase a house in, let's say, 6 months to a year, you set a goal. Some banks require 3 months of reserves. Other banks require 1 month of reserves. We require 1 month of reserves. It's just that easy. I'm just going to throw that out there. But if you want to buy a house in 6 months, you figure out how much money you're going to need. You want to get in contact with a loan officer and say, hey, what are your parameters? Like, what will it take for me to qualify for a loan? I don't know if I have it right here. I don't, but it's okay. I will send it out, Ivy, if you want to show it to anyone watching, or you have it at the end. But basically, for us, you need one mortgage payment saved in the bank after you close on a house. You won't necessarily know how much money you actually need. I'm just going to give out a general range. I would say $3,000 to $5,000 comfortably. You can definitely buy a house and have money left over at the end of it. Depending on where you want to live, that's typically the number that I look for. And then after that, just make sure you have consistent job history. One thing that I cannot stand, that I can say because I'm on a podcast, know how much money you make. It absolutely sickens me. If you are working a job, if you do not know what your pay rate is, or if you can't tell me your annual income, that is a problem right there. I will say, if you do not know how much money you make, that is the problem right there. That's one. That's numero uno. Like, know how much money you make, please. If you don't know how much money you make, that is a problem. It is a huge problem. Like,
Wow.
I know you're passionate about this.
Hey, like,
I know how much money you make when you come to David.
No, like, not even when you come to. If you don't know how much money you make, how can you know how much rent you're paying? How can you know how much food you can afford per month? If you don't know how much money you make, how can you know how much gas you can put in your car? Like, you can't calculate anything. You're going just
on vibes.
Yeah, you know, I feel like I got it. You know what I mean?
Hey, that's a lot of people's stories and songs.
But that goes back to the anxiety of, like, you don't want to know because it scares you to know. Yeah. Because once you put it in real time, then you know what your situation is. But you have to know how much money you make. That is just, you can't ignore that. And the one thing that I will tell everybody, the quickest way to get a raise is to get a different job.
Mm-hmm.
I have 10 jobs on my resume, maybe even 12, and some I didn't show. The quickest way to get a raise is to switch jobs. Take the experience from one job and make it correlate to another, period. I'm not telling you to lie on your resume. I'm just telling you to make it correlate. Take the experience. But if you want to take the steps to purchase a home, back to the original question, what you want to do is assess how much money you make a month, how much money you pay, and how much, because what you said, Ivy, earlier is that your mortgage is less than your rent. That's not going to be true for everyone. You know what I mean? You talked about yourself you had financial training from an accountant. You know what I mean? Everyone doesn't have an accountant mom. My friend's an accountant, and honestly, he sickens me with how long it takes him to make a financial decision. It makes me mad. Like, it's more borderline arguing. So you have more financial training, but a lot of people don't have that. So I would say, look at how much money you make. At the very least, know how much money
you can spend on rent, mortgage, light, gas, water, cable, phone. Light, gas, water, cable, phone is the order in which my bills go in my Apple Notes. That's the order. Light, gas, water, cable, phone. That's like,
And the bigger
and
the house
obviously
is, the bigger those bills are too, by the way.
exactly.
And the
So,
older too, right? Because we have so many old structures in this city in particular. If you have a really old building or an old home with antiquated aspects to it, it's going to cost more to run electricity and
or keep heating and cooling inside.
Mhm.
So just know how much money you make, call a loan officer, call a banker, whoever you want to call, and ask them for the guidelines to their program. Verify how long you've been working at your job. Get all of the information in line, because if you have two jobs, obviously you need 2 years of pay stubs and W-2s from both jobs. You want to get all of that information in. You're going to need 2 years of information from any source of income that you currently have or that you've had in the past 2 years. You want to gather all of that information in one, just to make sure that you fit the parameters of anyone's program. Sometimes you'll have to write a letter of explanation, and you might actually have to go into detail, like if you had any job gaps or anything like that. So, I mean, it's really not a tremendously hard process to get ready. The hardest thing to do is save the money. That's the absolute hardest thing to do. Right now, we live in an environment where things are just more expensive sometimes, but I know things are like going down. Some things are staying up. So save the money. And then also, if you have a 401k, that money can act as your reserve money as well. So the only thing you might have to do is come up with hand money, or you could just take the money out of your 401k if you like. You can check to see if your 401k is withdrawable. Sometimes if you only have a pension, pensions are not withdrawable. Okay, only 401ks are. So verify what type of retirement account you have and set up a savings budget for six months to a year.
Thank you for that. I just got a letter in the mail from a 401k that I completely forgot about too.
Me too.
Those are the best kind.
I was like, okay, cool. I've been having 401k since I was 18 because I've been working a lot, honestly. So I'm sure there's more out there. I just need to find them. Thank y'all so much. I'm really grateful for this conversation. And hopefully this is not the last time I get to talk to y'all. Hopefully this is not the last house we get to work on.
I'm excited. Yeah.
Just let me get up a little bit more. I'm trying to build my business and get my things together. I'll be in touch in the next, I'm going to give myself about 2 to 3 years to get it together.
Yeah.
Awesome.
Thank y'all again. So 2 more questions for our audience. And this one is on mobility and wealth building. So there is a myth that even I bought into, that buying a house ties you down, but I've learned that it can actually create more freedom and improve your financial position. Can you speak to how home ownership can be a launch pad, not a limitation? And I've been trying to get all my little cousins, all my siblings to buy houses because I just know the financial benefits to it. And I'm like, listen, we can have more fun if y'all just go get houses. Okay. We can go more vacations if y'all just go get y'all a little house and start it out. But can you please tell our audience, like, what are the benefits of home ownership and how can that actually launch you towards more financial freedom?
I mean, in my opinion, buying a house, one, you can buy your first starter home. Like you and I had talked about this, and you wanted to start off with something, let you get your feet wet, your first house. And then we said 2 to 3 years, you can rent this, you can Airbnb it, you can sell it, you can take the equity from that house and put it onto a new house. So it gives you options. And I always say options are great. I love options, right? I think that's the biggest thing. If you get into a situation where you need to get some money quickly or something, you can take out a line of credit, you can take some equity out of the house. So it gives you a lot of financial resources that you don't have when you don't own a house. So that's my opinion. When we sold our first house, we took that money and we built our next house. But what we did too is we took out a line of credit from that house to buy investment properties. So we took out $15,000 out of our house and we bought a $5,000 piece of property and put in, my husband probably can tell you, but I remember we refinanced it and we got $30,000. So we got to pay that back over and over again. And then when we sold the house, of course, you had to close that line, but we were able to have that equity into the house. And when we sold it, we were able to take that money and put it onto our new house. So it depends on what you want. You have options when you own a house. That's my opinion.
Right. And just to follow up on that, let's go into some numbers. Joy gave you a real situation. I'm going to give you a real situation. And I don't know. So Ivory, I don't think I ever told you this. Joy actually was the listing agent on the first house that I ever bought. And the lady that sold me my house, she was a real estate agent under Joy at the time, I believe, or she was training her. She was like what was Monica to you? I can't remember.
A good friend, and just, training her was training.
Okay.
Right. So the first house that we ever bought was $82,500.
Okay.
And at the time, our mortgage payment was like $750.
Okay.
COVID hit and the interest rates plummeted.
Mm-hmm.
We refinanced our house to a 3% interest rate from a 5.5% interest rate. Our payment went up to $800. We refinanced the loan down to 20 years and we took out $25,000 to pay for my daughter. She had an opportunity to go to this, I'll just call it smart kids camp.
Yeah.
My oldest daughter is a straight A student. I know where my state stuff is going. She's very, very smart.
Yeah.
So we paid for smart kids camp, and we basically took out that money and we reinvested in other places. Now we have a company of our own. We manage multiple properties. We bought a second home recently. We literally moved right up the street. I'm never moving out of Penn Hills. Now we have 4 kids. When we started out, we had 2 children when we moved into that home. And we now live in a 4-bedroom, 2.5 bathroom house opposed to a 3-bedroom, 1,200 square foot home. We live in I think it's 1850, 1,900 square foot home, 4-bedroom, 2 bathrooms, 2.5 bathrooms. And as far as your question goes, how can it be a launch pad? Mm-hmm. Having money in your account, money is I don't want to say it's like the key to freedom, but it allows you to do other things. You can open up a business. You can buy another piece of property. You can put a down payment on another piece of property. You can start a business. You can do a lot of things with that money. You can get fixtures to your cars. I don't advise people to go and buy cars with the equity from their house, but that's just one thing that you can do with it. And as far as it being a launch pad, and I hear a lot of people say this and it frustrates me. A lot of stuff frustrates me. A lot of things that are myths. If you purchase a house and let's say your mortgage is $1,000, if you want to move to a different state or something like that, the only thing you have to do is get somebody to rent your house out for $1,000.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And your debt to income ratio will not be touched because that mortgage payment is now taken care of. And then you can go and move, and now you own property. And who's really going to rent? If you're paying $1,000 in mortgage, you're not about to rent your house out for $1,000. You're going to rent it out for $1,250 or $1,300 or $1,400. That's why rent is so high right now.
Yeah,
because that's what everyone's doing. And you can live in a property and then go and move into another property like our S&T program, just saying. That's why I'm here. I'm sorry, y'all. I do like it. So with our program, as long as you're moving in the next house as your primary residence, you can use our program. There's 620 credit score, 3% down, 6% seller's assistance. And you can get a closing cost assistance credit at the end of it. You're not going to get the first-time home buyer credit because you're not a first-time home buyer. But by that time, you've built up equity in that house. You know what I mean? Over time, hopefully it'll increase in value. And after that, then you could either sell it or you can keep it. And then if the area is appreciating, you can either raise the rent or sell it, whatever you want to do. And then a house is really a way to store money. And then over time, let's say 10 to 15 years, if you want to cash that money out,
Like I said, money is very, very valuable. I mean, people can talk about and say the value of a dollar is low, whatever, whatever. But if you had $25,000 right now, you'd be able to do something with it.
Absolutely. Cash is king.
Exactly.
Especially in
So,
Pittsburgh. The market, there's so many houses here that you can do a lot with $25,000. Yeah.
you can go get a hard money loan and pay that down, go fix and flip a property on that. Whatever you want to do. You know what I mean? Like there's just so many things that you can do, but those are real life situations that me and Joy, I believe Joy, you talked, Joe, you built a house and then refinanced it right after the market.
Right after. Yeah.
So
We built our house and no. When did we build our house? 2000. I think it was 2000. Yeah, because we've been here 25 years.
Yeah. So hold on. Was that I think I was talking to you. That might not have been you. That might have been your sister.
Oh, well, she just built her house a few years ago. Yeah.
Yeah. I think Joy and her sister have the same voice. So I think I'm talking about her sister. I won't share her information, but long story short, you can do a lot with the money that can be generated from home ownership and just owning your own home and having that equity appreciate over time. We actually sold 322 Penn Vista Drive, Ms. Joy. You can actually go look at it. We sold it for $165.
Wow. Double.
Wow. All right.
Double.
Y'all heard it. It's a great. I'm trying to wrap my mind around building a house. That's the next step, I think. I'm like, whoa, I can't even imagine. And I've seen like on social media when people go ahead and like write things on the inside of their house, like on the wood part before it gets covered with like the walling and all the.
Well, my daughter just did that. She just built a townhouse and she did that. She wrote scriptures on all over her frame of her house.
Yeah, I look forward to that. That's the next dream, I guess, outside of just accumulating as many properties as I can get. Yeah, thank you for sharing that. I really do appreciate that. So it doesn't have to keep you bogged down. You can still live your life and go other places and live other places.
Yeah, at the very least, you sell it. I tell everybody, if you get in financial trouble and you don't want this house no more, what are you going to sell it? You got a house, sell it.
Yeah. Right. I'm trying to keep this one forever, but we'll talk about that in a few years. So our last question for the audience, and thank y'all again so much for being here. I really do appreciate not only you being here today, but for being a part of my process and buying my first time home. Oh, really quickly, David, I wanted to highlight for the audience. So I didn't necessarily get a first time homeowner's loan because of the circumstances, but that is available to people who are buying a home for the first time, correct?
Correct.
Okay.
Yeah, it's different because a lot of our first-time home buyer programs in Pittsburgh are area specific, like Penn Hills, or you have to live in the city of Pittsburgh. You actually live right in the middle of those two things. You know what I mean? Like Wilkinsburg is like right there, like smack dab in the middle. And I believe Wilkinsburg recently got a program a few years ago. So there are a lot of things a lot of like small caveats to first-time home buyer programs. But yeah, inside the county and then inside the city specific.
Yeah. Thank you so much for that. Okay, last but not least, so what's next? I don't plan on stopping here. This is the first of many homes that I hope to own. What advice do you have for folks like me who want to use real estate to build generational wealth? You kind of already touched on this, but especially those coming from foster care or low income backgrounds.
I mean, honestly, just keep trying. Like I said this before, the best way to increase your salary, or the quickest way to get a raise is go get a different job. Don't be afraid to go out there and like be like, look, like this ain't paying me enough. Go out and get a different job. You know what I mean? Don't be afraid to try something different. Like if you work in customer service, go get a different customer service job. And then maybe that customer service job will change into something else. And then also the biggest thing is save your money. Go into the bank. Don't be afraid to ask, hey, what products do you guys have? What are the parameters of it? What do I need to have? Don't be afraid to, I'm not saying go all out and go crazy, but a lot of times people compare like getting your credit pulled for a mortgage to getting it pulled for like an auto loan when you go into a dealership. I understand the differences and some of the processes and procedures of getting a car versus getting a home loan or anything like that. Go into banks and see if you qualify for different credit programs to maybe build your credit. You can go get a secure credit card if you don't have any credit, Or you can see if someone will give you a credit card based upon their credit parameters. Maybe they will give you a credit card. You really want to know how much money you make. I mean, that's just the thing. Like, you want to see if you can set up a certain amount of money to come out per year, and just be patient, because everyone's process isn't going to be your process. Okay. And I'm actually going to tell a little secret. A lot of my business comes from people who want to keep up with the Joneses. You don't have to. You know what I mean? You have to like really move to the beat of your own drum and move at the pace that you have set for yourself. And I would say my oldest daughter is actually a foster child, just to let y'all know. And so the thing is, she's in a situation to where I can guide her, right? And everyone's not gonna have the same guidance. Just you really have to open your eyes to like some of the possibilities that are out for you. Don't limit yourself and think that it's not for you. Go in, ask questions, see what your situation is, and just be straight up like, hey, this is my situation. What do I have to do to get to a place where I can purchase a home? And because everyone's situation is different, there's no direct answer for that. But the one thing is, know your situation, know your job history, save your money, and explore different credit options. Don't let everyone pull your credit, no. But if you need to take a credit pull just to see what it looks like, do that.
I think that's the biggest thing, is that if somebody they have a desire to own a home, talk to the professionals. I mean, quite honestly, that's just the way you're going to learn, and don't be afraid. So if you have somebody who is, I think I want to buy a house, they have that desire to own a house, then connect them with your realtor, your mortgage lender, because that's where it starts, and to educate them on the process of home buying. It can be overwhelming. And if you don't have the right people in place, it's going to be very stressful. And I think that's the biggest thing. Talk to the professionals, see where you're at. If you can't buy now, doesn't mean no. It just means not now. If you don't ask the professionals, then you don't know. Where do you go? I know somebody who asked, I want to buy a house, You got to get pre-approved. They come back. Oh yeah, I want to look at this house. No, you got to get pre-approved. What are you afraid of? Unless you ask the questions, get pre-approved, you don't know where you stand. And I think that's the biggest thing. Don't let fear stop you. Because a lot of people will say, no, back in my day, we didn't do it like this. Oh, back in my day, oh no, that's you need all this money. I think that's the one big misconception too, David. Do you agree? You need all this money. Talk to the professionals and see. If I know you need seller assist, if I talk to David and you need seller assist, then that's something that we have to put in your agreement. Then that's what we have to do. But fear is the biggest thing that holds people back from home ownership, because you don't know what you don't know.
Right.
Yeah. On that note, thank y'all. You just reminded me to go bug my little sister to get in contact with you about buying her first house. Ebony, we're coming for you. I'm not going to tell your business or your story, but we're coming for you to get your house. And again, I just thank y'all so much. And I hope that this is my first house of many with you all as a team. And I'm really grateful for not only what you've done for me, but for what you do for the community. So thank you, thank you, thank you.
Thanks for having me.
Yeah.
Thank you.
And thank y'all for listening to another episode of InnerViews. As always, we appreciate you. If you want to get in contact with Joy or David, their information will be in the show notes. And we look forward to you coming back again. Thank y'all so much and have a wonderful day.
Thank you.
Thank you. Bye-bye.
The InnerViews podcast is a production of the Safe Camp Audio Network, which is a division of Youth Voices Rising via Fostering Media Connections. Please visit safecampaudio.org on the web or Safe Camp Audio on all major social media. This podcast was produced and mixed by Christine Onjoko. If you enjoyed this episode, we'd love it if you consider sharing, subscribing, and/or giving us a 5-star rating on Apple, Spotify, or wherever you download your podcast.